Welcome back to the show. About a year ago, we chatted with Todd Steinberg, who was at the time doing a Kickstarter for "Don't Tell My Wife I'm a Cult Leader," and today he's back to kind of give us an update, and we'll see how things are going with him and see if anything else is new. So let me bring him in and let's catch up.
Hi, Chad.
How's it going?
It's doing great. I'm enjoying a nice spring day outside.
It's that must be nice. It's windy and 40 here, so
All right. Yeah. Yeah, this is unseasonably warm. I think Sunday it's going to be a high of 95, so I'm trying to take advantage of the cooler temperatures for now.
definitely. How have things been? Like I said, it's been a year since we last chatted about the book, and since then you successfully funded. And tell us what else has been going on.
Yeah, well, after funding it and shipping it out and getting some reviews, I had a friend of a friend in LA who said, "Hey, next time you're in town and you finish your project, give me a call and I'll introduce you to some people." So that was back in, I guess it'd be like September of 2024, so about a year and a half ago. And I went with him to this place called Rogue Matter, and I met the owner or the CEO, and I introduced myself, and I dropped off a couple of my books, and he says, "Yeah, this sounds like something we do. Give us a couple of weeks, and we'll get back to you. I'm going to give one for myself and one to our editor in chief, Trent." So I was like, "Cool." And so about 2 weeks later, I got a message, "Hey, we want to talk. We have some questions for you." And it was like 2 or 3 days later, and I said, "Sure." And I was thinking, all right, they're probably say it's good, but you're some nobody, and uh, we're looking for someone with a little bit more notoriety or something to that effect. And I was going to like tell them how this was a labor of love, 20 years in the making, and 4 or 5 years on the comic. And when I hopped on, the guy Trent, he was like, "Hey man, I read your book and it was fantastic. It was a labor of love. It was exactly what we were looking for. We could tell you put your heart and soul into this. The fact that you funded this yourself means a lot, and we'd love to have you aboard. We want to publish your book for the masses, but here's the thing: is that we really are our reason of being is to take unknown properties and pump them up and then try to get them turned into like a TV series or the like."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Man, that's music to my ears. That's exactly what I envisioned from the beginning." So I didn't have to pump myself up. That they did all the pumping for me, and so we just had a talk. And about a month or two later, they had a contract in hand, and it was super fair as far as Hollywood goes and publishing goes. And it's coming out in May, at the end of May. So it's going to be distributed by Macmillan, and it's basically available for pre-order on Amazon, Books a Million, et cetera, et cetera.
So for people who didn't see our first interview, and I'll include the link up here so they can check that out. But tell us about the book and kind of the inspiration behind it.
Yeah, sure. So growing up in the 90s, or I guess coming of age in the 90s, I was always interested in cults. I just found them to be very fascinating. And of course, the Branch Davidians, that happened in 1993. And I watched that live from social studies class. And then a few years later, you had the Om Shiguro cult in Japan, where they released sarin gas on a subway and killed a bunch of people. But the oddest one of all was the Heaven's Gate cult, which was in 97, where a bunch of people swallowed barbiturates and vodka and essentially committed suicide in order to join a spaceship that was floating behind the Hale-Bopp comet. And I was looking at this guy. What was his name? Doe. That was his pseudonym.
Yeah.
He didn't. Yeah, he didn't look very charismatic. He didn't. He wasn't sexy at all. He didn't have any cool things to say. And instead of like how most cult leaders, they sleep with all the women, he had his members and himself castrated to avoid that sort of thing. So he really went against the grain on that one. And after that, I basically always wondered, wow, how do these guys keep it a secret? I wonder if you could, there's a cult so secret where even the cult leader's wife didn't know about it, right? And I just thought about that for a while, and came up with some one-liners. And one thing led to another, where I developed a pitch for the New York TV Film Festival back in like 2006, and I pitched it. They thought it was cool, but they didn't know if it could be live action, maybe make it a cartoon. So I made a cartoon pilot, and that came out in 2011. I had an agent. I had basically a joint venture going, but that was when the industry was in flux with Netflix and broadcasting. And at the time, there really wasn't much prospect for some guy in Dallas, Texas, who was a little bit with no experience to be able to get this thing launched. At most, I could maybe sell the IP for a small amount, and that was that. And so basically, me and my creative partner, we were like, let's go ahead and let's turn this into a comic instead of trying to come up with a new pilot. Let's turn it into a graphic novel. But now that we're a little bit older, instead of setting it in the present day, let's set it in the 90s. And so basically, to your point, what's this all about? It's basically about a couch crasher named Floyd, who went from one spell of bad luck to another until he met his future wife. And then he essentially found himself surrounded by people who were in a worse off position than him. And the first book covers all of the other characters that end up becoming part of Floyd's crew. And if you finish the book, probably the question that a lot of people have is, yeah, that was really good, very interesting, loved it, but where's the cult? I was like, well, this is book one. And that was something that Rogue Matter said, is like, yeah, this was something you could have 5 or 6 volumes out of this if you wanted to. I was like, yeah, exactly. It has legs. So it's going to be about Floyd's adventures in the 90s, where the internet is coming of age, so to speak, and people dealing with the technology, which I think is a really great simile with today as we're adapting to AI. AI is going to be as big to the world as the internet was back in the mid 90s. And we're just going to follow his adventures and see where he comes. Is he actually a cult leader? Is he just misunderstood? That will be one of the questions. But I think the main question I'd ask is, would you do the right thing even if the world hated you for it? And that is a question a lot of people can't say for sure. Yes, of course I'll do the right thing even if the world hates me for it and it sullies my reputation. So that's one of the questions, philosophical questions, that it deals with as you read the book.
So you're looking back on the experience of the first book. What do you see how you've grown as you? I guess I don't know if you're writing the next volume or you're working on it, or how do you think that? What experiences do you think will translate in for your future volumes of the series?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really stop writing. I started doing volume 2 right away, and I'm about 3 chapters in. I'm kind of taking it slow because the publishers are like, slow down a bit, because as this book comes out, we'll get feedback, and we don't want you to have to reinvent the wheel and go back. And also, we can actually start paying you for writing, which I'm like, wow, that'd be great if I can actually start, making money, because I've sunk plenty of money in it already. Even if they do pay me for the whole book, I don't think it's going to recompense me for all the publishing cost and the cost for the artist and all that. But I've really decided that there are essentially 6 main characters, and each of them you're going to know just as well as our main character Floyd and his wife Mandy. And everybody is going to go from point A to point B on a scale, probably, that's the one thing I haven't decided. Will it be a 10-year saga or a 20-year saga? That's the only thing I really haven't decided. And time will tell as I keep writing and as I just start thinking about it more.
And who was your artist for the first book? And just kind of tell us again how you got connected with them.
Yeah, her name's Jo Diaz, and she's out of the Philippines. And I hired her years ago for some work at the business I own. I own a teddy bear company, believe it or not. It's a wholesale company. And so she did some artwork and some animations, and she helped me. I came up with a children's book series called Stubbs and Stilts about two rescue dogs based on my dogs. And I never thought about hiring her to do the comic because she's more of an animator, not really a comic book artist. But and at the time, I had my childhood friend who was the artist, and he was really great. It's just that maybe his work ethic wasn't on par, where it took a long time to get the art. And he went through a spell or two, and he ended up just quitting, saying, I'm sorry, I just can't do this anymore." And I put on a shelf. I had young, babies at home, and I always thought about it. But then Joe, she was like, "Hey, let me have a bite of the apple. Let me give it a try. I know I'm far away, but we've had a pretty good communication so far. Let's give it a try." And I couldn't just hand her a script and expect her to start working. I basically had to um, give thumbnails and with captions and describe what I wanted on the page. But she did a really great job of translating those words into pictures. But I laid out all the work myself and whatnot. And I did all the lettering.
So again, looking back on it, do you see anything within the first book that you think, knowing what you know now, you could have may have done better or paced better, or kind
Yeah,
of?
for sure. Yeah, I know what you mean. Like I think any artist or creator is going to think, "Oh, if only I had another go at that." Um, for sure, like because I knew how many pages it was going to be and how much Joe had to draw, I was like, skip the shading and the architecture. Just make it basic. Think about Persepolis, how that was black and white, where no one really faulted the creator for having simple line drawings and the like. Not that mine's stick figures or anything like that, but if I had to do it again, I would have said, you know what, do add the shading, make it more ominous, change. And I may have had a colorist come in, but that would have taken a lot more time and a lot more money. So I'm very satisfied. I don't think it gets in the way. I don't think anyone who reads it's going to be like, "Man, the writing's good, the story's great, but geez, the art gives me tired head." No one's said that. So
Mhm.
I've been pretty satisfied so far. But if we have to do a special edition where we have another pass through, it would definitely be the coloring.
So as you've, also, is there any characters, that you've kind of have grown on you, from when you started till now, that you want to maybe? I know you say you're going to tell the story of the six main characters, but are there, is there one in particular that has, maybe become a favorite, that wasn't a favorite before?
Yeah, for sure. So Libby, she is the teenage runaway who's 13, and I'm really developing her character because she escapes one cult and meets Floyd and Mandy at the end, and they kind of allude to, "Hey, we're going to help you any way we can," but that story has yet to be told. So
Mhm.
she's going to have probably the biggest development in volume 2, and the others will have their day, of course. So I think volume 2 will really focus on Libby as she's coming of age. She's finding her way without the cult that she's known since birth. Escaping a polygamous, predatory cult will be very new to her. So I think I have to address that first. That's where the exigency is. We can't just say, we'll deal with her later. Let's deal with the other characters first.
So, after the Kickstarter was successful, were you surprised at the? I mean, I didn't get a chance to look at the Kickstarter again, but were you surprised with the response that it got? And um, have you been to like conventions or anything with the book?
Yeah, conventions is like my one weak spot because I always find out about them like a day late. Uh, and so my next one is not until September, and I'm on the alternate list for a few. But I did notice, and you could probably speak for it too, is that the people who come, they really want to support the folks in Artist Alley.
Mhm.
However, this book is going for, $35, and that tends to be a little bit more than they want to spend on something that they're not sure is going to be good or not. So when I brought my books to the last convention I went to, I sold I sold a few, more than I thought, but I also sold a lot of the singles that I had left over from when I just did the chapters. And so I was really interested. I was like, all right, take the chapter, but if you like it, please get the whole thing, right? And I think they were just trying to throw me a bone just to show that they cared.
Mhm.
But I'm really interested in just selling the book. And yeah, I really haven't, because my meeting with Rogue Matter happened so quickly after the Kickstarter ended, and they seem to be in control and like, hey, we're going to help you promote and all that. I kind of left it in their hands rather than dropping, several thousand on Facebook ads or Instagram ads or whatever is advertising. I think it's pretty hard to sell a single book from a self-published author to the general public through
I
ads-based.
would, yeah, I would agree. Not that I would know from experience, but I can imagine. I have a lot of other creator friends who are in this same position that you were. So
Yeah, and my day job is like I own a teddy bear wholesale company, so it's pretty good. It's pretty easy to drive qualified traffic to the website, and I don't have one teddy bear for sale. I have hundreds of types: tigers, mascots, lions, etc. You can get custom printed T-shirts. So once you're there, you can find something that you might like. Whereas I just have this one book, so if they don't like a graphic novel, it's not like, well, I have this how-to book and I have a self-help book and I got a cookbook. It's one and done. So if they don't like it, they get on the page and jump off. I lose, a dollar or two per click, and it's pretty hard to make that back without just being an expert book marketer.
right. So, I mean, if you don't want to say anything about it, but then or can't, then that's fine. Would I think maybe I asked you this last time, but would you like to see it as a live action or an animated type? Because I think it'd work well as an animated myself.
Yeah, you may have asked me, and I would be giving a different answer. I always thought, okay, animated series, and I didn't bring it up with Rogue Matter. They said, we see this as live action because this is too serious and too in-depth for a cartoon. And the people who normally tune into cartoons, they are going to expect something like Rick and Morty or something of that genre. And the people who want something really in-depth, they're not going to bother watching a cartoon. They've already written off as one-dimensional. So they were all about live action. And I'm like, hey, you're the boss, Applesauce. If you want to do it live action, let's do it. And of course, that got me thinking, who would play, Floyd? Would I have a different actor for old Floyd versus young Floyd? Or would we do it like This Is Us, where we start off with a young character and just put some gray when we need to do the older parts? But I don't think too much on that. It's sort of like, I wonder what heaven will be like, kind of thing. It's like, just live your life now. And so I've just been working on book 2 mostly. And even though I have full creative control, that's one of the rights they gave me. It's not like I'm going to be able to pick and choose who the lead's going to be and all that.
Okay, well, no, that's fair. I mean, again, like you said, focus on things you, I guess, can control, and if something like that happens, then more power to you, and cross that bridge when you get there.
Yeah, I'd love to have the problem where, hey, Todd, we got some good news and bad news. The good news is that Apple TV wants your series. The bad news is that they're in a fight with Amazon. They're having a big bidding war. And, there's pros and cons and trade-offs with both. And we're really having a hard time deciding. Those are the kind of problems, you want to have, right?
Yep. So are you currently reading any comic books or anything that's kind of inspiring you or helping you hone your craft?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So this year, I guess it was last year, I was Johnny come lately to the Walking Dead series, and I read that and I couldn't put it down. I absolutely loved the storytelling, the character development. I thought it was just perfect, 10 out of 10 stars. And of course, as you know, someone who's read it, it's not really about it. Yes, there's zombies in it, but it's not a zombie book. It's more about what people do when they're put on the line. And so I
Mhm.
really admired that book from that standpoint. And after reading the book, I was like, there's no way the show can be this good. There's just no way, kind of thing. But I read lots of nonfiction and history books, biographies, and that helps me inform my book more than anything. You know, I do a lot of writing about alternate history in my book. Like I have an alternate version of the Alamo. I have an alternate version of the Civil War. Not that I recreate the entire Civil War, but I basically created two characters within the context of the Civil War in Texas. And I also rely. I also have a character who was going through all the violence during the early days at the end of apartheid, Dolly, and how he has to deal with the violence. So those are all feeding into it, and the fact that my show is or my show that show my book is set in the 90s. I've been doing a lot of reading on the 90s as well, reading a book on the 90s just to get a refresher on all the big things that happened each year from 90 to 99, and that really helped put things in perspective too.
I can't remember if like music plays a big part of it. I one of the books I just finished was 60 songs that define the 90s, I think it's called. It was interesting. But it was a lot more a lot about like the rock alternative. There was a chapter on like the one hit wonders. It was an interesting read, especially if you're a music person.
Yeah, it was, you know, there's a lot of things that the author of that book, can't remember the name now, but he was talking about how the 90s, you know, people kind of, the 90s. It's almost like how I envisioned the 50s, where my mom talked about it, the poodle skirts and the milkshakes and the slick back hair and just this very romantic notion of the 50s. And I think we kind of assigned that to the 90s. And one of the things the book uh, talked about was, of course, you know, 9/11 happened in the year 2001, but also in the year 2000, that was the last election where people were polled ahead of the election, where the Democrats were like, you know what? Sure, if I want Al Gore to win, but if George Bush wins, that's fine too. No harm, no foul. And same
Yeah.
thing, George Bush was like, yeah, we want a George Bush, this guy, to win, but if Al Gore wins, you know, we can kind of count on him to carry the water. But of course, that hanging Chad moment, and I think that just sort of broke the populace. And every cycle since then, it's always been this is the most important election ever.
Yeah.
You know, our freedom hangs in the balance, coming from both parties. And so
And
I
look
kind of
what we
see
have
that.
now.
Yeah, and who knows? And it's yeah, the circle of life. So we'll see what happens. You know, as a business person, so many things have happened over the past 6, 7, 8 years. Where I think the important thing is just to keep on keeping on. You know,
Mhm.
I can't control COVID. I can't control tariffs. I can't control who wins the elections. I can't control if there's going to be a strike at the port that's going to prevent my products from getting in, which happens from time to time. You just have to, uh, hey, do what you can within your focus of control, and you know, basically, essentially, say your prayers and hope everything, and work hard and hope everything works out. So that's essentially how I've been. But yeah, the the 90s, I do need to study it more, watch some more movies, especially ones that I didn't see. You know, I'm not going to watch Pulp Fiction for the 100th time to get inspiration. I need to go watch, I think it was Reality Bites. I only think I saw that once, and I was probably stoned at the time, and I don't remember it.
Mhm. Well, there is a if you need more uh, information on cults, there's a certain cult that's out there that doesn't think they're a cult.
Yeah, and that's you're speaking the truth. Is that each party feels that the other one is leading a cult, right? And yeah, it's like as secularism kind of wanes, it doesn't mean that authoritative control doesn't happen. And you're going to see the replacement of religion with ideology. And apparently there's a new series on Netflix called Manosphere, and it's about all of these influencers trying to influence young kids. And their MO is just like a cult. They're like, forget everything you know. The people who are telling you that you're powerless are lying to you. Uh, they say they're trying to help, but they're not. I'm the one who can help you. Just subscribe to my stock market analyst report or
The Secret.
the secret. And they're all very anti-Semitic and they're very misogynistic, and they also don't practice what they preach, which is a lot what like cult leaders do. They have their persona online, but offline, they say, oh, I'm able to bag chicks left and right. But then it turns out they just have one girlfriend who's not cool with his polygamy. So, as they say, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And you kind of see patterns, especially as you get older. You're like, I'm getting deja vu again. And you just see it happening again and again.
Definitely. Well, is there anything else that you want to would like to let people know about the book or where it stands? Or
Yeah, I have probably more hardcovers. I always say this: in order to get a good deal on the hardcovers, I had to buy like 800 copies, and I don't think I could give 800 like right now. Give out 800 copies if I wanted to do it for free. And I always tell my kids who are like 10 and 7. Either my book the hard copies will become a collector's item if this thing takes off, or when I die, the kids are going to be like, hey, what are we going to do with Dad's books? That kind of thing.
Trust me, I know.
What's
my great grandfather was the West Virginia state state. He was in charge of the state education system, and he wrote a book. And there's boxes of them that just that still exist. But
Yeah,
it's nice to go back and look at them and learn about a family member that I didn't ever meet. But what do you do with them?
for sure. Yeah, it's always exactly. One copy would have been enough, right? But like the book that's coming out is actually going to be paperback with a different cover, and they're selling it for the same price I was selling the hardcover for. And that was on Amazon. I was just shipping it by the owner. So I took that listing down, and it's kind of hard to tell my friends, hey, I know you spent $35 on a really cool hardcover book. I want you to buy the softcover book now because it counts more. It's kind of a hard sell, so I might have a few friends doing it. But I'm hoping that Rogue Matter and Macmillan pull through and really promote the heck out of the book. They have a lot on the line too. Rogue Matter is a new company, even though the people in it aren't new. They've been around the block. This is the year for them. If they don't make it this year, it's curtains for them. So I'm hoping they'll put all the stock into their upcoming titles. My book is the only book of theirs that's being released in May. So I'm hoping it all comes together and that they'll promote me. They'll put me on different podcasts. I did get a really cool pull quote from Rainn Wilson, who's a friend of mine. I try to get on his Soul Boom podcast, and it's kind of hard to follow the Breaking Bad. What's his name? The guy
Bryan
who plays,
Cranston.
Yeah, it's hard to follow him and the Incredible Hulk and all these people that he's getting on now. So like, hey, Rainn, do you think you could put me on? He's like, no, but I'll give you a cool quote. And when the book comes out, I'll do a post about it for Facebook and Instagram. I'm like, deal. So I'm happy about that. And his quote was really great. I actually ran it through. First of all, it had some punctuation problems. So I know it wasn't run through AI. He didn't just have an AI quote for me. So I'm like, cool, a genuine Rainn Wilson quote. This is awesome. So that'll probably go on the materials and but if you are into ordering and you can't get enough Cult Leader, please go to Amazon and get it, or wherever your favorite book is sold.
All right, and can people find you anywhere online? Do you brave the socials?
Yeah, I'm not too active. And, it's like I'm on Facebook, and you can go to praisefloyd.com if you want to sign up for the newsletter. I'm even on X just because of, I don't know, because I already had the account. I don't want to lose my space or whatever. We'll see what happens. Instagram, I don't have that many pictures to show, but yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me. it's not my favorite thing to self-promote, even though I know I should do it. But if I have anything cool to say, it will show up on social media.
Sounds good. Well, it was great catching up with you. We'll have to do it again once book 2 is ready, if you want. And then, or in the meantime, if you want to, we'll, whatever works for you. But it was great catching up with you, and glad you are having a lot of success with the book. And
great.
Yeah. So.
All right. Thanks, Chad.
All right. Well, thank you, and have a great rest of your day, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.